Are you ready for the next step? Do you realize that you see the whole world from a screen in the back of your brain called the visual cortex? Our eyes send everything that they see to the screen in the back of our brain. But the person who's actually seeing this world, the person that is you, is not seeing the world from your eyes. If you would, it would be like seeing through binoculars. But you don't. You see a screen. Because you are the person that's looking in the back of your brain at your visual cortex. It's like you're watching TV. You're not watching your eyes, you are watching the screen. The interesting thing about our screen is that our eyes act as a lens and flip over the image. So what we see on the back of our brain is a flipped over image of the whole world. In fact, the real you is completely upside down from your body. We know this because nature dedicates the first months of our lives to get used to this weird situation. This is why newborn babies reach up for something that's down and reach down for something that's up. They're coordinating the world that they see with the body that is instinctively moving the opposite way. You don't believe that you are completely disconnected from your body and that the real you is seeing the world from an upside down position? Let's see what nature has to say on this subject. If in fact we and all the other animals who have a visual cortex are flipped over from our bodies, then what would happen if an entire species was not using their visual cortex at all? That would mean that from birth, they could not coordinate the world that they were supposed to see with the bodies that are upside down from them. And as a result, they would never feel the need to flip over. They would probably feel perfectly fine being upside down from everyone else. Of course, this species would need to have wings, or else staying upside down would be extremely difficult. Do we know any animal that would fit this profile? Is it a coincidence that the one animal on this planet that doesn't use its visual cortex also happens to be upside down? Bats use a sonar, and as a result, the world that they see doesn't come from their screen in the back of their brains, leaving them completely oblivious of the fact that the whole world is completely upside down from them. What the bats are showing us is that anyone seeing the world through a screen called the visual cortex is upside down from their body, and that we get to walk around and experience this world through a body that is upside down from what we really are. Now the question is, why would nature make us separate from our bodies? And if we are indeed separate from our bodies, then where are we? What are we? And why would nature go through all the trouble of making us upside down from our bodies just to have us see the world from our body's right side up perspective? Wouldn't it be easier to make us see right side up from the start? Lucky for us, there is something on this planet that will help us understand this. The tree is a simple organism that follows the same concept of being two separate entities that are upside down from each other. In the case of the tree, these two parts are connected, because unlike us, the tree doesn't get to move around. But the case remains the same. We have the actual tree, and then we have the body of the tree. The actual tree being the root that is inside the ground, and the body of the tree being the part with the trunk and the branches and the leaves. The root of the tree is completely upside down from the body of the tree. And if we were to cut down the body of the tree, the root would probably laugh, saying that he's the actual tree that is experiencing the world, and that the part that we cut down with the branches and the leaves is just another body. If we understand now that all humans and animals are also experiencing the world from a position that is upside down from their bodies, does that mean that we also have roots inside the planet? This isn't something that nature would hide from us. And indeed, nature never hides anything from us. The earth was always round, but before we had enough experience, we were sure it was completely flat. And why wouldn't we? Our eyes tricked us into thinking it was flat because of how big this planet is compared to the distance we can see. We can now understand that all life on this planet is happening on the inside. We live on the inside of this planet. And from our root that is connected to our body, we experience the world looking at the screen that is connected to the back of our brain. Our bodies are only an expression of our root that is inside the planet. And it's only now that we have the capacity to understand what was right in front of us this whole time. But all of this cannot be proof if we can't see what a human root looks like. Trying to dig our way into the planet to see our own roots would be a problem. You know, the crust being what it is? But nature makes up for all of this very nicely. We may not be able to see our own roots, but we've been looking at other people's roots our whole lives. To understand what a human root looks like, we need to understand our relationship to our brain. Our brain cells make up our brain and are tiny and they move really fast compared to us. This is exactly how we are compared to our planet. We are also tiny and move really fast compared to our planet. And our planet, as big as it may be compared to us, is really tiny and moves really fast compared to the Milky Way galaxy. And you can keep going. The Milky Way galaxy, along with billions of other galaxies, make up an even bigger galaxy. And that gigantic galaxy, along with other giant galaxies of its size, make up an even bigger galaxy. And the scale keeps growing bigger and bigger, and also tinier and tinier in our own brains, because our brain cells each have billions and billions of tinier brain cells of their own. In other words, a brain cell and a person and a planet are all the same thing. The only thing that changes is the scale you are seeing the universe from. We are the planets of our brain cells, and at the same time, we are also the brain cells of our planets. But if a brain cell and a person and a planet and a galaxy are all the same, then why don't they have arms and legs and eyes? If a planet is a person, then why does it look like a round sphere? Remember how we were looking for a human root? All we see of ourselves is our bodies that are walking on the surface of the planet, but we don't get to see our roots that are inside the planet. Our planet, on the other hand, is in the reverse situation. Our planet cannot see its body. It can only see its root. This spinning round sphere we call a planet is just somebody's root. All of the planets are just normal people's roots that are connected to bodies at the scale of our planet, sharing the same size and speed of each other, and at the same time being big and slow compared to us. We don't get to see our root because we get to see our body on the surface. Our planet doesn't get to see its body because it's seeing other people's roots, including its own, on the inside of the Milky Way. What is this situation where a planet doesn't get to see the body that it's connected to, and instead only sees its root? And if the Milky Way galaxy is just another planet that has an inside and a surface, then how can our planet see through its surface, watching other faraway galaxies and planets? And if all the planets are people's roots on the inside of the galaxy, then does that mean that all these planets are alive, filled with people and animals of their own? If this is the case, then why do all the planets look empty? When we look at other planets, we expect to see little people walking on the surface just like us. But now that we know that all we see is our scale, and all that our planet sees is our planet scale, seeing other people walking on the surface of other planets is like walking up to someone on the street, shaking their hand, and expecting to see all of their brain cells walking around their head. We don't get to see each other's brain cells. This is exactly the same with the planets. One planet cannot see another planet's brain cells. We only get to see what our planet sees in its scale, and our planet does not get to see other brain cells moving around the surface of other planets. If any planet was in the same situation as we are, and there are plenty of those, if the people on that planet reach the point where they have telescopes and were to direct their telescopes to see us, all they would see is an empty planet. Because all life is happening on the inside, and one planet cannot see another planet's brain cells. This is why we can't see people walking on other planets, even though all of those people and animals are all there. The planets and the galaxies all around us are very much alive, and nature continues to flourish throughout the universe in every millimeter of the vastness of what we call space. It's not that we are alive and the universe is dead. It's more like the universe is very much alive, and we only get a taste, because of the very limiting situation that our planet is in. So why is our planet stuck in a situation where all it sees is just a bunch of empty roots on the inside of the Milky Way, when everything is supposed to be alive all around us? There is something in nature that explains the very familiar situation that our planet is in. You don't need to be a doctor to understand exactly what our planet is going through. Our planet is surrounded in darkness. It feels like it's all alone, even though everyone is alive all around it, getting its life from an outside source we call the sun, and wrapped in a salty fluid we call the ocean. Let's repeat this. We are part of an organism that is surrounded in darkness, feels as if it's the only one that is alive, when in actuality, it's getting its own life from a different planet altogether. How can we say that our planet is the only living planet when all along a totally different planet is the one that is giving us our life? And to top it all off, our planet is wrapped in a salty fluid called the ocean. This situation that our planet is in is this thing we call the womb. And as long as our planet is inside the womb, we get to experience the womb along with it. When you were inside the womb, you had brain cells that formed in those 9 months when you were in there. So you get this very weird situation where your brain cells are alive, but you are still not alive. And this same situation is happening with us and our planets. We are alive. We've already been through the 9 months, but our planet is still not alive. What we are experiencing is the inside of the womb for our planet. And if anyone thought that nature is just going to let us skip over this experience of seeing the womb from the inside, then get ready for a surprise, because this is the most important phase of all. This is how everything starts. Individually, none of us remember what went on in there. So to make up for it, and a whole bunch of other things, we are going to experience what a birth looks like from the inside. We might be alive, but our planet is still not alive. This accounts for many things, like the fact that we don't use the full potential of our brain. In the same way that the brain cells of a fetus are meant to see light and hear sounds and do so many great things, but as long as they're part of a brain that is inside the womb, they can never do what they were made to do. They can never fulfill their true purpose. And it's exactly the same for us, which explains everything humanity is going through. We were made for one kind of life, full of gifts and capabilities, but we're stuck inside a dark bubble, doing none of the things we are meant to do. But the good news is that, like all other wombs in nature, this womb too is temporary. Being born for our planet means not seeing roots on the inside of the Milky Way anymore, and instead our planet will get to join all the people that are connected to these roots on the surface of the Milky Way. The planet will still be here, it's just that the view is going to change. And what a change this will be. For starters, our planet will no longer get its life from the sun. From the point of our planet's birth and onwards, our planet will be making its own life, completely independent of anyone else. With the light coming from inside the planet, this false thing we call darkness will be but a distant and unwelcomed memory. We think our sun is orange. This is because our eyes are tricking us yet again. Our sun is sending the most photons in the green portion of the spectrum. Our skies, these great big screens that are completely turned off, showing nothing but empty blue skies and empty dark skies, will turn into a bright green fiery light of the kind that we've never seen before. Our empty skies are like walls holding back all the waves of information that is waiting to get in here and make use of our brains for the very first time. Our so-called dark universe is in fact brighter than anything we could ever imagine. The reason our eyes are tricking us, or not showing us what is actually there, is because our planet is inside the womb. This means that for us and other planets in the same situation, nature turned off the light. All we see of our universe is like an X-ray. We see only the skeleton of what's actually there. The very little that we do get to see is only to help us understand our current situation, and to help us realize that our planet is part of a system within a system within a system that is infinite. If nature wasn't showing us this X-ray of the universe, helping us see through the crust of the Milky Way, we could never understand this principle that each person is an individual that is comprised of many smaller individuals, and at the same time this person together with other individuals of its size make up a bigger individual, increasing and decreasing infinitely. Each person has a brain full of brain cells, but at the same time, this same person is also a brain cell in somebody else's brain. The next step is understanding how much longer our planet has to be inside the womb. We are really tiny and move really fast compared to our planet. So 9 months for us is not 9 months for our planet, because we get to cover more ground in the meantime. So for us, it feels a lot longer. And it has. Thousands of years for us is only 8.5 months for our planet. And how do we know that it's 8.5 months? Well, it's around that time that the baby understands that it's inside a really big womb and that it needs to get born. We know this because the baby does something very specific to let everyone know, hey, I'm just inside a really big womb. I really need to get out of here. And what the baby does, it flips over, getting itself ready for birth. But to be more specific, it's the body of our planet that is going to flip over, and not the root. There is a woman somewhere on the surface of the Milky Way, and in her womb she holds the body that is connected to our planet, which is just the root. The whole point of having a body that moves around on the surface is so the root doesn't have to. So it's hard to say how we will experience this flip that our baby planet will go through. And remembering that our planet's time is slower than ours, a flip that would otherwise only take a moment would feel a lot longer for us. What the flip represents for us is the end of this cycle and the beginning of the last cycle, which is the 2 weeks the baby has left before it leaves the womb. Each cycle follows the map of the brain, starting at the point of birth, going through the right side of the brain until the point where the right side and the left side meet, which is the point of puberty, and then continuing through the left side of the brain until it reaches the point of death/rebirth, completing the previous cycle and going on to a new cycle. This is how nature works on all levels, including our own. In our lives, we are born, we go through the right side of the brain, or in other words, being a child. Then we hit the point where the right side and the left side meet, which for us just means puberty, which then shifts us into the realm of the left side of the brain that we know as adulthood. Of course, we always use both sides of our brain, but it's the side that we are leaning towards in each part of our life that makes us what we really are. Then we keep going until we get to the point of death, which also happens to be the point of rebirth. This is true for us, and true for our planet as well, and so each cycle of the building of our planet's brain follows the same pattern, each cycle representing a different layer in the brain of the fetus. Inside the womb, the brain is formed, one layer on top of another layer on top of another layer, until the brain is ready and the baby realizes it needs to get born. Each layer that is made inside the brain is a different cycle for the brain cells of that fetus. The cycle of the dinosaurs, for example, is the lizard part of our planet's brain. We also have this lizard layer in our brain, which was formed when we were inside the womb. After the dinosaurs completed their cycle, it was time for a new layer called the cerebral cortex. This is the outermost layer of the brain. This is our cycle. We are this planet's cerebral cortex. We know this because this is the only layer that we have that the animals don't. So now that we are here, it's safe to say that the cerebral cortex layer of our brain is also here. This current cycle we are in is our cycle, which started when we first showed up here and will end at the time that our planet flips over, moving us into the next cycle. This next cycle will last around 1,000 years and will coincide with the 2 weeks our planet has left before it is born. In these 2 weeks, the fetus learns more about its surroundings and about its situation, making it ready for the task of leaving the womb. This is also a special time for the brain cells of the baby, because for the first time they will live in a place that knows no fear while they join hands getting themselves ready for the birth of their planet. Now the only thing that's left is realizing who gets to continue into this next cycle, which will be determined by the one thing we have control over: our actions, our choices. Making mistakes is part of being alive. No one is supposed to be perfect. The whole point of growing is making mistakes and then learning from them. What happens when we choose not to learn? By our actions, we are speaking to nature. Some of us are saying they want to stay here. They speak through action by being kind to all life. Others are saying they do not wish to stay, by being narrow-minded and cruel to others, or acting blindly on behalf of others who are cruel. Only goodness can remain in a universe that's good. We are not yet alive. We are only in the corridor that leads to our true reality. Are you ready for the next step?